All right, welcome back to the third and final video in your practice layout tutorial. In this video, we're going to plan space for our mods and fix our margins. So when you're doing your layout, you want to make sure that you have space for all the mods that your team has planned to put in here. You want to try for this practice layout to have space for at least 2 mods. Just like with our paper layouts, we're not going to worry about designing mods today. We'll learn that skill later. We're just going to use a colored box to fill the space that our mods will go. So you're going to go over to your left-hand bar and you're going to grab this square tool. Looks like a little rectangle. And then you're going to go over here to your swatches and select a color that you want to use for the spread. Since I've got a lot of blues in here, I'm going to select this blue. And make sure that the main box is selected here to fill in for blue, not the outline box. If that one's selected, hit the none there, because that will create an outline of your box. That would look kind of weird. Once you have your color selected and your rectangle tool selected, you're just going to simply draw a rectangle to fill in the space where a mod could possibly go. We'll worry about this exact spacing later, but let's say we're going to have a mod there. And then let's say we're also going to have a narrow interview mod that goes down here. Those are my 2 mods. I've got my space planned for those. If you want to, you could do some text that says mod number 1, color it white, make it nice and big by going up here to our size, and we'll say we're going to make this 20, and then you can place it on top to indicate, but that just reminds you what's going to go there. Now we need to fix all of our margins to make this look pretty. So this is where it gets a little nitpicky. Just settle in and be patient with the process. You're going to zoom in close to our photo, and let's first adjust our eye lines because those will help us make all the photos nicely aligned. Control plus zooms you in. You want to get really close here, okay? You're going to go back to that rectangle tool. But instead of drawing a box, you're going to click on some open space. So find some space in your margin and just click. When you do that, it opens up an option for the width and the height. Our margins are 0 p2 picas, 0.2 picas. So we're going to type 0 p2 for width, hit tab, 0 p2 for height, hit OK. That will give you a tiny little box here. If the box doesn't appear, you need to zoom in closer. This box is really, really small. So if you're zoomed out and you try to create this box, it will be too small for you to even see, and it won't actually show up. Make sure you're zoomed in here. I'm going to take this box and I'm going to line it up here with my original eye line. Zoom in a little bit further. And I'm going to now drag a ruler guide down from my ruler to line up with this box. I'm going to do the same thing on this side of my spread. Now I have an eye line that is exactly 0 p2 picas from my dominant photo. All of my photos underneath here I can now bring up to meet that eye line. And when I do that, I'll create those perfect internal margins, okay? We'll fix these in a minute. I'm going to go and do my vertical eye line next. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to move my box over. I'm using my arrow keys on my keyboard for this. Since it's so small, it's kind of hard to grab with my mouse. And I'm going to zoom in over to the side of my photo and do the same thing. Put it against your photo. From the side, you're going to draw a line that goes flush with the photo, and then you're going to draw another guide that goes to the other side of the box. And then you're going to take all the photos that are over here and align them with that line. And now those will all be exactly 0 p2 away from our dominant. We have perfect margins now from our dominant, but we don't have perfect margins now from our photos. So one by one, you're going to go to each photo and you're going to fix those margins. So drag the box and make sure that margin is perfect. But now what happens when you get a margin like this where no matter how much dragging I do, the photo's not going to fit. That's when we're going to resize the photo a little bit within the frame. So I'm going to go over here to my margin, and I'm going to drag over to create my guide of where this photo needs to meet the other one. But even if I scooch this one over a little bit, and I do want it aligned with our dominant over here, I can't make it meet this one without making it a different size, and I don't want to do that. So if you cropped the photo, you can just drag it over, and if there's more photo on the side, it can meet it. And same with down here, I want these to match. But if this photo isn't cropped, if there's no more left, and I want it to match here, how do I do that? Now you're going to take your white arrow, click on the photo, and from the corner, you're going to hold Control and Shift and resize it. And now it is resizing it within the frame that you created. So again, if this photo is shorter than this one, I can drag this down to meet it, click on my white arrow, click on the photo, and then from the corner of the photo, you're pulling it out so that it now fills that frame. The idea here is the blue outline is the frame the photo lives in. The brown outline you get when you click on the photo with the white arrow is the actual size of the photo itself before cropping. And so you can move this photo within this frame this way. That's also what happens if you have your black arrow selected and you accidentally grab it from the middle. It's moving it within the frame. Generally, you don't want to do that, but it can be helpful if you need to get it to fit perfectly for your margins there. You're now going to do the same thing with all of your photos. So I'm going to go over here and do the same thing. Get those all perfectly fit. If I zoom out a little bit now and I go to View, Screen Mode, Preview, this will take away all my guides. You can see really nicely here how all of these margins are consistent. And then that also kind of glaringly points out how I still need to fix these. So you can tell visually that these need to be fixed. So I would do that next. The last thing you need to do is also fix the margins between your story and your mods. So the margin between your photos is 0p2. The margin between your photos and your other elements is 2p0. Go back to View, Screen Mode, Normal. Grab that box again, just click on the rectangle tool and click in some empty space. And instead of typing 0p2 here, we're going to type in 2p0, 2p0. That will create a much larger box. And this will create the guide for how big your mods and your story are going to be, how far away they will be from the photos. Place it against your photo package, and then you can bring that guide over. We're going to now move our story over a little bit so it fits nicely, and we'll move the mod box a little over so it fits nicely. We're going to do the same thing down here. Now, captions are going to vary based on the size of the caption when it's written, but you want to go from your lowest caption. So this is my lowest caption, and so I'll bring this down. You can use a guide or just bring it to flush with the bottom of that square, and then we'll get rid of this. Delete that. And now our other margins are also consistent. From here, you're pretty much done. You can play around a little bit with your headline if you'd like. Make it look pretty, maybe assign some colors, play with stacking the font or using these two fonts together. For instance, I could, knowing that the word game is the most important here, take the rest of this, put it in its own text box, so copy and paste these words into their own text box. Change those by going to character styles and to freestyle script into the other font, and then do some nice pretty stacking of this. Just like your photos can scale from the corner, so can your text. So if you double click in the corner of the text box, it'll snap the text box to the text, hold Control and Shift, and you can make that word bigger or smaller, and then play around with getting the rest of it in here to make it look kind of cool and well designed. You can move around your secondary and your byline, all of that. You can assign the headline color. You want to keep to one color per page. So since I'm using blue for my mods, I'm going to use blue here, and then I'll also make my byline blue. And that is pretty much it. Once I fix my margins, I'll be all set. When yours is finished, you're going to go to File, Save As, name it with your last name, Practice Layout, and hit Save here in the Practice Layout folder. And then I'll be able to access it to give you your grade. You're all done.